all, thanks very much for letting me attend. This was quite an introduction for me. My partners at Checkpoint gave me a call, Cade and Parker. Terry, would you mind coming to New Orleans and talking to a few of our customers? It'll be fun, they said, right? So sure, I'll come down and talk to some customers, and here I am, right? So just a few of you, the math-challenged Cade of 3 to, I don't know how many people are in the audience today, but a lot more than 3. So as they mentioned a moment ago, we've been partners with Checkpoint for well over 20 years. I still remember my first account team from Checkpoint that would call on us when we were just building the AT&T security SOC in 1999, and we've been going full bore with the Checkpoint team since then and supported many versions, many account teams, much of the work that they've done year after year. And we truly consider Checkpoint a security aristocrat in the industry. They've been around a long time and have had a tremendous impact on everything that we're doing within the cyber realm. So just a few moments here, we're gonna cover a couple of these topics and we'll skip through a few of them. We're gonna talk about AT&T cybersecurity. You know, quite frankly, sometimes I go out to customer events and they'll just tell me, hey, I didn't even know you guys were a cyber company, right? But the reality is AT&T is the 3rd largest cyber company in the world. We've been doing this for well over 20 years, right? So it's a pretty impactful thing. Talk about our approach at AT&T and then the evolution, what we see the evolution to be as a network security provider, right? Cloud, edge, SD-WAN, all of those things. And then probably most impactful for all of us is going to be the advent of 5G technology as that starts to grow. So AT&T's strategy is fairly straightforward. We're an edge-to-edge company. So we have a global footprint, 200+ countries that we're involved in, where you deliver network security technology to all of them, mobile assets in all of them, or most of them probably. AT&T's been doing this a long time. We understand the challenges the networks are going to have over the next 2, 4, 8, 10 years as we look a decade into the future on what will the network look like 10 years from now? How will it change and how will we stay in front of all of these changes that are going to take place? So mobility, we hear so much today about the 5G race, right? AT&T, as well as all of our telco peers, are racing ahead with 5G, knowing that 5G is truly going to change the way we look at networks. It's truly going to change the way we look at security. We're going to be cutting cords as often as we can. Why would I want a cord connecting my device when I can get the throughput speeds of 5G and a virtual connection back to my core network, right? So 5G is going to truly transform this industry. AT&T looks at security in a few different ways. One of the underlying concepts of AT&T security is our ability to look at data, right? So being 40%, give or take a nickel, of the active network, right? The internet as we know it. We hold about 40% of that data at any given time. We take a feed from that information and then we combine it with the Alien Labs information. Alien Labs is an open source threat sharing platform. Over 100,000 people participate and we get about 20 million events given to us every day to analyze. They could be hashes, they could be threats, they could be any number of different things that they think are suspicious to look at. We combine all that data, and that's the Alien Labs. And then we share that with our customers as well as partners in our Open Threat Exchange. AT&T Consulting, again, long-term asset that AT&T has used for many years, supplying the industry with high-end security engineering, high-end security consulting, compliance consultants who go out and help assess what's going on in the network, what our customers need from AT&T or consulting services. And then our managed security services portfolio is very extensive, right? It's threat services, managed security services, mobile security services as well. So it's very broad with many partners, over 500 staff members in this organization that deliver managed security services. So this is a very telling slide on what the view of AT&T is. So 105 billion events every day, right? Just what we see as potential malicious scans on the network. 275 petabytes. I try to grab a concept of around 275 petabytes, and I think what it breaks down to, if you could take an iPhone with 64 gigs of data and stack them one on top of each other, they would go to the moon. That's what 275 petabytes of data is, right? So we see that every day on our network, or it crosses our network in some way. So that's a lot of information that we got. Eight SOCs within the organization, globally, obviously, that we rotate through, lots of security staff there. And then AT&T as a whole has 2,000 security staff, right? 500 of them are delivering managed security services, and the other 1,500 are either securing AT&T's network or working in some other capacity, like security engineering, my team, supporting AT&T services. So this is a really big environment, very complicated environment to manage and look at. So we find ourselves in a very unique position when it comes to cybersecurity and our visibility of what's really going on in the network. So here's our ability to go to market. We're going to go in 5 different ways. Network and cloud, the core concept of security around network and cloud is this transition very quickly into the cloud sphere as more and more customers are looking for a way to leverage remote assets, SD-WAN, reducing the cost of network, right, from leaving the MPLS network to go to a more SD-WAN internet-bound network, using broadband as a tool. And then again, 5G is going to come on very quickly. Endpoint solutions, the other part of the edge, right? We're all carrying 1, 2, 5, 7 different devices around with us wherever we go. Those are all really endpoint devices, and we need to find a way to have a holistic view of all of that data. As I pick up a spreadsheet on my laptop, transfer over to my iPad and use it over there, and somewhere else it ends up, I've got to have a way to look at that data across all of those different devices and make sure that I'm keeping it clean. Identity and access management. One of the cornerstones, and I heard the zero trust conversation a moment ago, one of the cornerstones of zero trust is being able to verify who you are or what device you're using, what network you're on, so the biometrics, the authentication, all of that data becomes absolutely critical to ensuring that the right access is being given to the right person, or the right asset, or the right sensor, the right database, the right cloud environment. And if we can't do that, many of the other things that we're trying to do fail because there's no verification. We can't ensure that that data is going to where it needs to go. Threat detection and response. What we've realized is we're not going to cut down on the number of threats, right? No matter how hard we try, the threat profiles are getting bigger. There are more and more assets looking for more and more data to leverage for financial gain, espionage, whatever the number of things they want to do with the data. Those numbers are not going away. They're getting bigger. They're getting more powerful. So what we've got to do is find a way to eliminate as many of them as we can, as quickly as we can, right? And move on to the more nefarious activity that is harder to find, harder to remediate, harder to get rid of, right? So threat detection and response becomes one of the key cornerstone in everything that you or I or any other organization is doing with security. If you can't see it, you can't control it. If you can't control it, you're going to lose badly, right? So these are the kind of things that we have to think about every day. And the last pillar, cyber strategy and risk and consulting. So one of the big parts of this is keeping up with all of the risk and compliance mandates that come out, all of the changes, all of the nuances, whether you're healthcare, banking, European, any of the government requirements. If you can't keep up with those changes, you're going to find yourself in a problem when there is something bad that happens and you can't comply with those very important compliance issues. So about a year ago, this article came out that more CEOs are worried about a cyber attack than they were the recession, right? It is a bit dated, but it's still a very powerful comment that our leaders are very worried about what we do for a living. And if we can't keep up with keeping the network safe, they're at risk, the company's at risk, the stock price is at risk, and many things cascade and fall due to one cyber event. And we've seen it over and over again in the different industries, the different companies that have had these impacts over the last few years. So there are a lot of us in the industry, maybe even staff members from these companies that are in the audience. And I'm not picking on anyone. What this really means to say is even the most powerful, well-funded, have the most money, biggest security teams, they're not safe either, right? They spend tons of money, hundreds of millions of dollars on security, and they still have problems. Again, I heard earlier, one misconfigured cloud element cost them, right? Very interesting. So thousands and thousands of security companies. The last time we took a look at this number, there were over 5,000 security companies in the industry. Even the largest organizations can't look at those industries, can't look at all of the potential partners they could use and make a real educated, informed assessment of what the value of those security tools are. Consolidation of security is going to become something that I believe we're going to see over the next 3 to 5 years. A big consolidation down to a bunch of key players that manage most of the industry. So here are the few elites, right? And you can probably guess, kind of who they are: Bank of America, Google, Facebook, those kind of guys that have a much larger security budget than many small, medium, or even enterprise class customers. $100 million a year or more in security spend. 1,000 employees, right? AT&T has 2,000 security employees. And well over 100 security devices or security technologies in that environment alone. That's a pretty daunting management environment, no matter who you are. Managing 100 or 50 or 20 management consoles, pretty hard to do in any real environment, hard to keep up with. Okay, this must be a build slide. So AT&T's vision, as we see the next decade, our vision really looks like a transformation from the thousands of companies to a few, and I don't know what a few means these days, but let's say hundreds of security companies that we build into point solutions, right? So threat hunting or phishing or some of the other smaller environments, they're still necessary. We still need to do all those things. Aggregate all of those things together, right? Kind of where we are now. We're bringing them together. No real orchestration. SOAR is coming. It's got a lot of promise. I don't think it's as mature as it should be or could be very soon, right? And then as service providers, we lack the SOAR capability today. We're working on it with our unified security management platform, which is the other topic. Finding a way to take all of the visibility tools and let them feed the control tools in an automated way, right? So when I can see a threat and I can pick the right control environment to stop that threat from propagating somewhere else in the network, right? Effectively killing that event in its tracks. That's the goal of AT&T security. So accelerating the trends, SOAR, cloud, integrated security platforms, finding a solution that keeps us, that delivers many of the aspects that we need, that we may need 4 or 5 different vendors before. And a managed security provider, and then continuing our partnership with Checkpoint. Thank you all very much. It was my pleasure to be here today. You guys have a great day.